Good evening, and welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show Post, live streaming on Facebook Live, Twitch, and our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports. My name is Big Reg. I'm joined this evening by my partner in crime. We got my man Ed in the building, and I mean literally in the building. What's going on, Ed?
Man, has it been like 6 years since we've been together?
It feels that way, bro.
Man, this is exciting. I really, this is like an outer body experience, Big Reg. I really can't believe this is happening, but I'm glad it is. Let's do this.
This is the first time Ed has officially been in the studio with me in our new home studio, so that is great. In the background, running the boards, and who will pop in later is our man, Professor J. We appreciate you, Professor J. And we got a special guest this evening. We got my man, Darian. What's going on, Darian? How you feeling this evening?
Man? I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me.
What's up, Darian?
I'm looking forward to getting your perspective on things so we can see what the younger folks are thinking about as far as this football thing.
I'm looking forward to giving it to you. I got you.
So this evening we are going to talk. Got to do the NFL draft recap, and for everybody listening, that's going to be the majority of the show. We're going to hit it hard and long. We're going to do some other topics that caught our attention near the end, post takes, and our final post of the evening. So as always, we appreciate you tuning in. So sit back, relax, and enjoy post on the Positional Sports Talk Show channel. So before we get into the draft got hijacked Thursday. And before I got to put out the disclaimer, Adam Schefter, who broke the story about Aaron Rodgers, who had basically told the whole Green Bay organization he was out and either trade me, I'm not coming back. He clarified and said that Rodgers didn't ask him to publish that story Thursday before round one of the draft.
Then why not? Then why even say anything?
I'm just saying what he said. I ain't saying I believe him.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm just saying what he said. We got to put that disclaimer. So, I mean, we all knew Rodgers wasn't happy. But did we think he was that unhappy?
Not at all. I didn't think it would get to this point.
But the thing that is mind-boggling about this whole situation is that this is the exact same thing, in a sense, that Green Bay pulled when they drafted him and Brett Favre was still the star.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's right and that he should just know business is business. And basically, and he probably was still had a little more left in the tank than Brett Favre did at the same time. But nevertheless, I'm surprised that he's showing out like this. I really am.
But you got to realize, Rodgers is a different cat.
That's true.
That's true.
Rodgers has very little relationship with his family.
That's a red flag.
That's been reported.
Right.
Rodgers went to Cal. He's a smart dude.
Right.
Also, because he was in that situation, he knew the hell he went through dealing with Brett Favre.
Right.
For 2 or 3 years, knowing that he didn't want him there. But that was just the biggest explosion. You also got to realize, Rodgers wanted them to keep Jordy Nelson. They let him go.
He was shot. He didn't do anything afterwards. But you're
that's
right.
His boy.
You're right. That's his boy.
They let it. Excuse me. They let his quarterback coach go and didn't tell him till after they fired him. That's the person you spend the most time with.
Yep.
On the team.
So, do you think it's a thing of disrespect as far as? Do you think he wants more input? Obviously, that we know that answer. But do you think the respect issue is involved in this?
Oh, I think it's all about respect.
Yep.
I
think probably one of the biggest problems too is I think he wants to feel like he's the man. I think he feels like they're not making him feel as if he's the man. Like, think about Drew Brees in New Orleans, for example. They pretty much gave him whatever he wanted. But Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, like even the small stuff, like when they hired Matt LaFleur, they went and told Aaron Rodgers, like they alienated him and told him, "Don't be the problem with this head coach," as if he was the problem with Mike McCarthy in the past. So I think this is kind of a thing where he just kind of feels like they don't treat him the way he should be treated, kind of putting him on a pedestal where he feels like he should be, if that makes sense.
And guys, Aaron Rodgers said something before the season that if you just take that quote, what he said, I'm getting ready to repeat what he said in a minute. But if you just take that quote, that kind of gives you some insight as far as who you're dealing with. And the quote I'm referring to is he said, "My bad year is better than most quarterbacks."
It's a career season for
career
most
years.
quarterbacks. Yeah.
So him saying that tells you all you need to know as far as who he thinks he is as a player. And he is good. He is great.
And that was factual.
It was factual, right?
Yeah, it is factual.
I will say this about Aaron Rodgers, and whether or not it's fair or not, and whether it's his doing, and obviously we've seen where he can only play with who he has on the field with him. But to be year in and year out championed as the greatest, one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever, and there's circles that believe that. And when you watch him play sometimes, I even believe that's, that could be the case. But he only has one Super Bowl. And brother BJ, if you listen, you'll feel my pain when I say what I say. If Ben wouldn't have threw that pick six, we only lost by 5 points that game. If Ben wouldn't have threw that pick six, he would not even have that one Super Bowl. But I digress. But for all his talent, he only has one Super Bowl. Is that his fault?
But is that an organization fault?
Right.
Because it had another Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yep, I was about to say that because if you have a situation where that same thing happened, you can't necessarily say that's his fault. If that same thing happened with Brett Favre.
Well,
they don't. The issue with Green Bay, one, they don't have an actual owner.
That's a problem.
So they don't have anyone who can say, okay, we need to spend money right now to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about the future. They're always trying to balance and budget stuff.
Right.
Two, because they're in the middle of nowhere, they feel they have to be conservative. So they don't attract a lot of free agents. Who wants to go to Green Bay?
True.
Nobody.
Unless you pay them outrageous money. No, who wants to go to Green Bay?
Right.
So it's hard to get free agents there. So you got to draft very well. And then when it's time to pay the right people. They don't pay the right people. Up until recently, they really didn't do anything in the off-season market except for maybe second-tier guys, third-tier guys, until they signed the two defensive players, the Smith boys, a couple years ago. That's the first time they really spent any money.
And that was overpaying.
And they had to overpay them to get them to Green Bay. Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers is like, y'all done drafted. I've been with this organization for 14 years, and y'all have never drafted a first-round player on offense. And then you finally go spend some money, and you don't bring in anybody on offense.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's go ahead and discuss it. Is he going to be the starting quarterback opening day for Green Bay Packers? That's the question. What is he going to do? Because he kind of has some leverage. Because
he got a lot of leverage.
Right.
He made $15 million off the field last year.
Right.
Just in endorsements. That doesn't include this new Jeopardy money. And I got to give credit to Stephen A. He was talking. His 2-week stint on Jeopardy was the highest rated 2-week stint of any of the guest hosts that they're filtering through. So I'm sure the network is looking at that saying, hey, if we want to keep this show viable, why not bring the guy that's got the biggest draw?
And
so
if you're Aaron Rodgers, why not? Why not go work 1/3 of the year, not have to deal with the organization that you want to deal with anymore, make millions of dollars chilling on TV playing a game show? I don't see why not.
270-pound linebackers chasing them down, running 4 threes.
Yep.
It'd be in Cali with your new fiance, who's an actress.
Well, that comes and goes. Aaron out and about. That comes and goes.
But right now. So, and again, he's a different dude.
That's true.
And his agent is the same agent who had the former Cincinnati Bengals quarterback,
Carson Palmer.
Who held out and told Bengals, "I'm not playing for you,
Right.
and I'll retire before that."
Yeah, right.
So I
He
think
did
he's
get
gonna
him traded to Oakland too, didn't he?
Yep, he finally. It took him half a season. They finally said, "Okay, he's serious." So it seems like Green Bay is trying to say, "You either gonna play for us or not play," and he'd be like, "Okay."
Yeah. Yeah. It's great in life to have options. I swear it is.
So you think he's gonna play for Green Bay, Darren?
Honestly, I knowing Aaron Rodgers, I would not put it past him to say he's gonna hold out the season. So I'm gonna lean towards Aaron Rodgers won't be starting week 1 for the Green Bay Packers. Honestly,
I'm agree with you. I'm a sign on. I'm a sign on to that.
And people saying, well, he'd have to pay them. They could force him to pay back as much as $30 million in that crazy signing bonus in this current contract. Remember, he got like $80 million up front.
Right. So, you want the State Farm money? You want the Jeopardy money? You want you want Wells Fargo?
Where you want the money wired? You'll have it in the hour.
But this is an interesting nugget too, as far as his contract is concerned, because if you go back to the AB situation when he was in Pittsburgh, AB started showing out once his guaranteed money was over.
Right, that's true.
Because he wanted to try to force a new contract. And so Aaron, his guaranteed money ran out last year too.
But they offered him more money. He said no.
Right, but it wasn't enough.
Did the deal leak?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Did the deal leak? Did the information of what they offered him get released to the public?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet. But when they went to him to restructure his deal, he said no.
See, basically, because the reason he said no is because he probably saw that you're trying to restructure it to get me out of here.
Right.
Because they have Love waiting in the wings cheap.
But then they came back and offered him a new extended deal with some guaranteed money.
But was it sincere? And basically, because of the ownership group, like you mentioned, Big Reg, was it sincere?
Yeah, he was done. Yeah. They say his final straw was last year before the season. It's been reported a lot today that he was on a podcast it's on NFL Network talking about a young receiver that had been with the Green Bay Packers for 2 or 3 years and that he really liked him and really liked his work ethic and all that. And they cut him the next day.
Man.
He was like,
that's pettiness at that point.
Yeah, if somebody making $600,000 a year in NFL, that's
nothing.
That's money they find in the
bathroom.
Right. So it's crazy. All right, so the three of us believe that Aaron Rodgers is either going to be playing on a new team or not going to be playing come the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to this draft. And before we dig into it, I just got to say one thing. Roll Tide! The University of Alabama, 6 first-round picks, tied the all-time for most first-rounders. They end up tying with Ohio State for 10 total picks. The SEC had 65 in the 7 rounds. If you want to see the best college football in the country, folks, if you're not watching SEC football, you're not watching the best. I'm sorry. Ohio State's a great program, but they're a program. Oklahoma's a very good program. They don't play any defense, but they're a program. I think Texas, which Sark going there, is going to bounce back because that's a huge market. So, but the SEC is multi-layered deep, and they prove it each year with the draft picks. So,
but you know what I found fascinating about the Alabama picks is that, and full disclosure, I am an Alabama homer, but the fact of the matter is, whoever was recruiting in 2017 was some recruiting fools. Out of that class, they had 2 first-round quarterbacks. They had 3 first-round wide receivers. They had a first-round running back, and they had a first-round left tackle and a first-round right tackle.
Yeah.
That was those were some recruiting fools.
Yeah.
8 first-round draft. 2 quarterbacks in the first round.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was after Kirby left, and everybody said they would fall apart when Kirby left.
Yes.
Whew.
Yeah. So, congratulations, Alabama.
Alabama did their thing. Some NFL work happened come Monday. Monday was the final day the teams had to exercise fifth-year options on first-round draft picks, or say that's it. The big ones, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. A sneaky one. Carolina picked up Sam Darnold's fifth-year option.
They were in a corner, though.
Yeah, because they didn't pick a quarterback in the
and they got rid of their
yeah.
starting quarterback. So they were in a corner, yeah.
Saquon Barkley, Denzel Ward, and Jair Alexander cornerbacks, Bradley Chubb with the Broncos.
I'm surprised by that
one. Marcus Davenport, offensive line, Quentin Nelson. Everybody knew he was. I'm surprised he didn't get a new contract.
Yeah.
Isaiah Wynn on the offensive line. Roquan Smith, the Bears got his extension. Your boy Tremont Edmonds' fifth year was picked up, but they didn't pick up his brother. How's that going to work?
Goodness. He's a bum.
But
it was it was Pittsburgh.
I understand, but you gonna cut my brother next year?
He cannot. The first person he covers next year will be the first person in his 5-year career or 4-year career. Yes, he's horrible. Okay. I mean, gosh, if it wasn't for Minkah, you see what happened when Minkah got there.
And of course, they picked up Minka's option.
Had to, yes. Yeah.
I was surprised that the Chargers picked up Derwin James's option.
It's too much.
He's been hurt,
but it's too much.
He has so much. Derwin James would be a top 4 safety in the NFL.
Yeah.
If he played, he drives me insane.
But Darren, wouldn't you agree that sometimes there's so much talent that the NFL team, if they don't pick him up, because it might be a situation where he has injury, and then he doesn't have any injuries for the rest of his career.
Right.
So the gamble is worth it, and it's really not that much money in the big scheme of things.
I hear you. That's tough. A man that's never played a full season, missed the last 2 complete seasons,
right?
And you guaranteeing him 10 to 12 million. So on the defensive line, Vita Vea at Tampa Bay, that was a no-brainer. Deron Payne for Washington, DJ Moore and Calvin Ridley were the wide receivers that got their extensions. The people who got told, we appreciate your work and come in next year, you better ball out or you got to go. The Dallas Cowboys, Leighton Vander Esch, another person,
neck
can never stay healthy.
So
and I think he got a problem with his neck.
This one hurts my heart, especially seeing how he played in 2018. But I understand where they're coming from. Drafting Michael Parsons and Jabril Cox. Vander Esch is coming up on a contract. Smith is already under a contract. It happens.
Yeah, he need to get a realtor. I hope he didn't buy. I hope he was renting. Because he won't be in Dallas next year. Rashaan Evans hurt me.
It did, but I mean, at the bottom of the business is production. And the man just has not been productive, unfortunately.
And we understand why the Atlanta Falcons have a whole new regime. Because they traded with Baltimore to get Hayden Hurst, and then they don't pick up his 5th-year option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? Hayden really, technically, I wish there was some way he could have stayed in Baltimore because they actually missed Hayden Hurst.
He needs to come back. He can come back next year.
I think it reflected in Mark Andrews, too, because he carried a big load last year that I feel like Hayden Hurst relieved some the year before when Lamar won MVP.
Yeah, so we will see. So that's the business in NFL. So let's jump into the draft. We're going to try to knock this out by division, and we got to start with the Super Bowl champ. So look at the NFC South. The Bucs didn't need anything in the draft. I think there was one other time, and I think it was one of your Steeler teams that literally are bringing back everybody, but that was when people couldn't leave.
That was in the 70s.
Yeah. Right. They bringing back all 22, all their coaches, So literally nobody's left. So everything else is gravy. Plus, don't forget, they get the tight end back from Alabama who missed
OJ
the whole
Howard.
season.
Right. Now, do you think this? So I know the business of sports are involved in all this, and they had to work out contracts and move some money around. But do you think the COVID situation and the uncertainty with the salary cap, the lowering of the salary cap, do you think that played a part in these Tampa being able to retain all their free agents?
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some people, there's a group of people who just wanted to stay because they've been in Tampa for so long and been losing.
Right.
And they wanted to ride that Tom Brady train and see if they can win it again. But you got some of the mercenaries out there, the defensive tackle. Sue.
Dominican Sue.
If Sue could have got enough money somewhere else,
Yeah.
he'd have left.
Yeah.
Yep.
The running back.
Fournette.
Yes.
Fournette. He was hoping he could parlay that into a starting position somewhere
An
else
extension,
for real
yeah.
running back money. He found out, that's not out there. So
AB.
that worked out.
Yeah.
It all worked out. So the Bucks, their number one pick, they got another linebacker, Joe Tyron. They got the future Kyle Trask, which I'm not sure about.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Kyle Trask wasn't looking too hot the end of last year.
Yeah. Then they picked up a tackle. The Saints, who didn't have much available due to all the things, so they ended up with defensive end Peyton Turner.
Now,
never heard of him.
Now, clearly, they haven't learned their lesson with Davenport.
Yeah,
and to move up to get Davenport from Texas San Antonio, and he hasn't done squat.
He didn't even start last year. Trey Henderson started last year.
Right, so they did the same thing with Peyton Turner, and their head coach Sean Payton got on and I'm sure everyone's lying at pre-draft, but even Professor J would admit that they need cornerback help.
Yeah.
And they did not draft a cornerback, I believe, until the third round.
And there was a run on corners, too, around the spot they were drafting, because Cleveland got one, Green Bay got one. Who else? I think that's it. So there was definitely a few that they could have picked up.
Yeah.
So I wasn't real. Pete Warren of Ohio State. Ohio State puts out good players, but
I didn't see him in the national championship.
Yeah, he wasn't anybody that jumped off. Panthers shocked me. They took J.C. Horn with their first pick.
Messed up our whole draft.
Oh yeah, they had your boys. Because right after that, with Dibble,
Jerry Jones was.
So, but then they followed it up. Who I think will be one of the steals of the draft, Terrence Marshall Jr. of LSU is a beast. He was actually the number one receiver for LSU 2 years ago in the national championship year, and he got hurt.
Oh, okay. And then Chase took over.
Took over
in Jefferson.
He was the number one rated coming out of high school.
Okay.
So it was interesting.
I would have took the left tackle at the time, though. They I mean, they did come back and get the tackle out of BYU.
Yeah, who's a good player. But
man, y'all know last week I ran down BYU's schedule. We're not getting into it right now. Y'all saw everybody knows. No.
We hear you. And then the dogs of the division, Atlanta. I mean, they had an opportunity to get the quarterback of the future, but they decided to get the freak of the draft, Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts is better than his closest comparison at his position than any other player in this draft. There's no other tight end close to him where you can argue QBs, the different QBs. Some of them are close. Kyle Pitts is a monster. Come on, Kyle Pitts killed us.
Wait, I'm listening.
Hold up. I don't want a tight end that can't block. I don't care. Now, if you want to say that he's a wide receiver, not a tight end, fine. But I'm not drafting a tight end in number 4 overall. And I'm staring at my potential franchise quarterback in Fields. I'm staring at him right there. He's from the Atlanta area. He's right there staring at you in the face. Matt Ryan is over the hill.
But you can't get rid of him for 2 years.
But you can't
way too much dead money.
Put him on the bench. Fields is cheap.
But do you want to go through the whole pressure of the Atlanta media calling for Fields every time Matt Ryan throws a pick?
That'd be
for
game
2 years?
1. That'd be game 1.
I just don't understand why you would take a wide receiver, not a wide receiver, a tight end who doesn't block that high in the draft. To me, it didn't make sense. But I was happy. I was glad. I was like, good. You're just gonna suck some more. And there's rumors that they're only, I believe, $1 million over the cap. So I think Julio might be moved before the season starts.
Yeah, June 1st will be interesting. They say they're still fielding information trade requests on Julio, but they can't do it before June 1st. So that could be possible. But yeah, the DB Richie Grant from UCF, he's a player. UCF puts out some good players. So, but nobody did anything major in the NFC South to me. The Panthers continue to keep building. I will give them that.
Defense.
That Panther organization, they are building.
Yeah.
They did the whole draft last year on defense, and their first pick this year, they even added to defense. So that defense is going to be better. And if they can get the offense to stay healthy with their running back, and if they can fix the quarterback, they got some weapons.
Well, we're going to see how good Joe Brady is because he turned Joe Burrow into a quarterback. So if he turned Joe Burrow into a first-round number 1 overall quarterback, certainly he could possibly work some magic on Darnold. But the problem with Darnold is that his old coach ruins quarterbacks.
Yeah, is he shot up here? That's the issue.
Right.
Is Darnold shot mentally?
But we did see Tannehill have no revival, though. Tannehill did get his career bounce back. So
well, he had Henry.
True.
Henry
True.
Basically, and if you've tuned into this show, I've been on a soapbox saying that Tannehill should donate half his salary to Henry or his favorite charity every year because Henry single-handedly gave Tannehill $30 million a year.
Yeah.
Then Christian McCaffrey could be his Derrick Henry
if he can stay
healthy.
If he can stay healthy. Now, they did pick up a running back in the late round that's a decent little running back, so maybe they can take some of that load off of him. All right, let's move on to the host's favorite division in the NFC. We got to talk about the East. And since you already started, Darian, I got to admit, the Jones boys actually did something smart. When both of the cornerbacks went off the board, while they were upset, they traded back 2 spots and were still able to get what I think is possibly the best defensive player in the draft. Micah Parsons is a monster.
I agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like that was probably the next best pick if the top 2 corners were off the board. Because I didn't want to take Caleb Farley that high, but I kind of thought one plan of action they could have went was, I think I mentioned this on Delayed Game, but trading back to get Parsons, which they did, and then using that extra pick to drive back into the first to get Farley. But it didn't work out like that. But I'm happy with the pick because we needed as much help as we can get on defense. Couple that with the 2nd round pick, Kelvin Joseph. I love how he plays press man and cover 1. He's like I like his press technique. I feel like he'll be a good compliment to Trayvon Diggs because Diggs is kind of a wild card. Then you got Joseph. He'll be the more secure corner, kind of how Santana was supposed to be. So I feel like that worked out good. And then one sleeper I liked, Nashawn Wright. I feel like he's gonna be kind of like our Brandon Browner, if that makes sense, where he's more like a red zone tackling bear type corner. He's not very fast, but I feel like that's not what we're gonna ask him to do. So. I like the class. I like the class.
Yeah, it was obvious that they were trying to recreate the Legion of Boom.
Right.
I don't know if it's going to work, but everybody in your secondary was at minimum 6'2". Yep. A couple of them was 6'3", 6'4". So they went with length. Your boy Jerry said that he got himself a basketball team. Back Basketball players don't do well on football teams pretty much because they don't like that physicality. So we'll
But when
see.
they do well, they do well.
All right. Y'all going to have to keep Kelvin Joseph out of the clubs because he thinks he's
he
a
does
rap
have
star.
some. Yeah, he got like
Well,
7
that's why he
mixtapes.
got kicked off the LSU.
So that's going to be the issue. In Dallas, with him, that could be a problem. But
got
You know, Jerry like them bad boys, though. Them, you know.
Yeah. So let's talk about the division winners, the Washington football team, and a lot of people that I know kind of laughed at Jamin Davis.
Mm-mm.
They're hoping he's going to be their Luke Kuechly in this defense.
You know what? Something's going on in Ashburn, and it's good.
Yeah,
I have to admit.
For the last 3 years, they've been moving in the right direction.
Because the rumor was a lot of people had Owusu. I think that's how you pronounce his name. The young, the young man the young man out of Notre Dame, and he was available. But I think that because of his size, they probably thought they had that in Landon Collins, like an in-box safety / like type linebacker. So I think that the only negative anyone can come up with as far as Davis was concerned was that, well, he only started 1 year. Well, okay, sometimes people bloom late. I mean, that's no big deal. But I think that he has this. I think when everything was equal, the speed was equal, the production was relatively equal, and I just think that the ultimately the size was what was the deciding factor. With the Washington
6'3",
football team,
240, running 4.4.
Yeah, so I actually liked that pick. And then they followed up with a tackle
from Texas.
He had the left side and the right side down in Texas. 3-year starter. So that was good. But the kid out of UNC, Brown, that's going to be a sleeper. He's going to be a sleeper.
He got size, and St. Juice is nice because he can play inside or outside. So they quietly, not a lot of brand name people.
Mm-hmm. But the system, it's the system that
they're picking people that fit their system. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta admit, the Giants starting to get a little scary.
But they have one Achilles heel. They have a couple Achilles heels. One is their offensive line, but the most glaring Achilles heel is the quarterback.
Yeah, but if he can play like he did in the second half of the season, they put a lot of weapons around him this offseason.
Yes,
and then Kadarius Toney.
I love Kadarius Toney's route running. His route running is next level. It's kind of ridiculous what he did in the slot at Florida last year.
They got to just remind him that he only 5'9", 5'10", and he's not 6'4", 230. Because he gets hurt trying to run over people.
But he's an ideal slot receiver.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then the linebacker they picked up is nice. And Philly, they're trying.
Well,
they're trying a little bit.
I think Philly got the best wide receiver in the draft. I know everybody thinks Chase is the best wide receiver, and we shall see. But I just think Devontae was the best wide receiver.
I think between them two, it's kind of like a CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy. Like it's just kind of, in my opinion, I feel like it's a toss up between the two of them.
Yeah, it's a matter of fitting what your offense is doing and how you want to do it. But I think he's going to fit in right around, and then getting Landon Dickerson, so you put a good. You can play him at guard because they still have their center.
Kelsey. Yeah.
So you can play him at guard, and then because he played every position on the line.
Yes.
So he can play anywhere. So you help fortify that line to protect Jalen a little bit. So it'll be interesting. So the NFC East is not going to be the NFC East next year.
I can't predict who's going to win that.
We got plenty of time for that. We got to see how they work out.
Yeah, we just predicting right now.
Y'all want to hear a stat about Daniel Jones?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
27 career starts, 22 interceptions, 29 fumbles.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's their Achilles heel. I don't know, Darren. Do you think he can turn it around? Or you don't think he has it?
I feel like it's there, but if I'm gonna give my honest personal opinion, Daniel Jones is not their long-term answer. But I feel like the problem is that there's no quarterbacks coming up in this next class, and they're already at a point where they built their roster to where they need to start trying to win now, in my opinion. So it's kind of what all they got at this point. But I don't think they're going to succeed with Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
but they're going to be some beast quarterbacks come out in 2 years.
Is Bryce Young coming? No. Yeah.
Bryce Young will be eligible
okay.
in 2 years. The quarterback at Clemson.
What about that kid out of USC? When's he coming out? He'll be a junior this next year.
I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he'll be a junior.
Well, he might be the number 1 pick coming out this year. But that young boy Ugaji, I think is his name, from Clemson.
Yeah.
And Bryce, you're gonna have 2 studs coming out in 2 years. So
DJ Ugali.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. He's a beast. So New York can continue to build, and then if Jones doesn't work out, they can try to get their quarterback later.
Well, they might as well just start scouting now.
In the NFC West,
I'm gonna quit being negative.
My favorite draft in the NFC West were the Cardinals. Xavin Collins is another freak of nature.
Mm-hmm.
That man is 6'4", 260, and ran a 4.39 40.
Pair him with Isaiah Simmons.
Whoo!
They fixed their linebacker issue.
Mm-hmm.
If like JJ can stay relatively healthy.
He didn't got to stay healthy. You need Chandler Jones to stay
healthy. Yep. You want JJ to compliment Chandler Jones, honestly.
Yeah, he's still there. He was just injured most of last year. He's still there.
I thought there was rumors that he might leave.
Nah, he ain't going nowhere.
Okay, yeah.
So you got Chandler Jones, who's the main thing. So JJ doesn't have to be the rock.
Yep.
You got these 2 young flying linebackers running behind them.
Buda Baker,
and they already got a good secondary. And then Rondell Moore adding another weapon to their wide receivers.
Him and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, so they had a very nice draft. If the coach can step up his game, Arizona can not only be a playoff team, they can be a problem in the playoffs.
Who's the defensive coordinator in Arizona? That's the question. I think
I don't know. I have to research that.
Oh man.
But defense ain't.
I thought it was the old Carolina coach,
Vance Joseph.
Yeah, was that him?
He was the Broncos old coach.
Broncos coach. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So they're gonna be a problem.
Talent. Yeah,
they're gonna be a problem. Seahawks. They got another wide receiver. I don't know what they needed there, and because of them trading away picks to get players, they only had 1 pick in the first 3 rounds.
Yep. And I think 3 picks in the 7, right?
Right. They end up getting a tackle in the 6th round, but I mean,
he actually could have went as early as in the 2nd. There was room. He was actually projected to be either a 2nd or a 3rd round pick.
Yeah,
Forsyth from out of Florida.
We will see if that will be enough to keep the quarterback happy. The Rams. Tutu Atwell, he's fast as all get out, but I don't know how he's going to translate to the NFL if he can get away from press coverage. They're going to have to put him in the slot because he's small.
Yep.
If they're worried about Devontae, he's small. At least Devontae was 6 feet.
Right.
He's like 5'8" and 160 pounds.
Well, and
I guess that means he's a little more. I guess he might be a little more stocky, but.
The Rams' issues, I think, is the offensive line could stand some youth and injection of youth, and then their whole thing is they believe Stafford is so much greater than Goff. We shall see.
We will see. We will see. And then the 49ers, they did what we said.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Jones was a smokescreen.
Mm-hmm.
You and I said on the show, don't believe what we heard. Mac Jones is not going to be the number 3 pick. And they took Trey Lance. I don't know how true it is, but Shanahan said that he watched tape in late January of Trey Lance and sent it to Lynch and said, "You got to watch this." And that's when they made the decision. That's what he said after the draft.
Okay.
So
well, The talent is there.
And then a sneaky Trey Sermon.
He's good. Trey Sermon, that was an excellent pick.
He doesn't have to be the number one back.
Yep.
His issue was he could never stay healthy.
Well, and in San Fran, there is no number one back.
Exactly.
Yeah,
there is. You know how they roll, so we can just roll him in and do our thing. So San Francisco,
that's actually a good fit in San Fran.
Did y'all think the Chicago Bears was going to get Justin Fields?
I didn't.
No, but I'm happy for him.
I think that's a good spot.
I'm happy for Chicago.
Okay.
And
because I'm not sure
if I'm happy for Justin, not because of those Chicago winters. I'm not happy about that. But I'm happy for him that they appreciate him. They went up and got him. So I'm glad all the noise and all the chatter before draft, and he actually fell. Remember, Big Ben went number 11, Justin. Remember that. The best quarterback in that draft, by the way. But anyway, I'm happy. I like the move. And Chicago was like, we can't let what happened to us, 4 years ago when they let Deshaun go. They let Patrick Mahomes go. And they traded up to get that bump. I think they traded up from 3 to 2
to get a backup.
A career backup.
So, and then they followed it up by then selecting 2 tackles with the next 2 picks.
Good job.
So at least they're trying to fix the situation.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't rush him on the field because I don't trust their coach.
Well, Nagy,
I definitely don't trust the general.
Nagy's bad.
Jobs are on the line though.
Their job's on the line, not Justin.
No.
You're going to get me hurt because your job's on the line.
Well, they're going to let Andy Dalton. Here's how it works these days. Unless you're like the number 1 pick. This is not going to happen with Trevor. But this is how it's going to work. Andy Dalton is going to be on the field stinking it up. Everybody going to know it.
Well, he ain't going to stink it up, but he's going to be like 18 to 30 for like 175 yards.
Man, I promise you, I watched him. He was in the division with Pittsburgh. He's going to give you two picks. So
Darian, though, he had enjoyed that last season.
So there you go. So by the third game, Justin will be starting.
Yeah, I think that's going to be too quick for him. Minnesota Vikings made a major move. It didn't come to the 3rd round, but they put your boy Kirk on notice.
Yeah,
drafted Kellen Mond.
Man, I actually liked Minnesota's draft.
They had a good draft
because I like that. I like Darisaw out of VTech.
I
thought Washington.
DMV guy.
I thought Washington was going to draft him.
Right, and then I like the Wyatt Davis pick out of Ohio State.
Absolutely.
And then I definitely like the Mond pick.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to play right away. He's not going to play right away. They got Kirk. I'm sure Kirk got some guaranteed money.
Oh, Kirk don't play.
All guaranteed.
So, and then they got Patrick Jones, who many thought during the season and prior to the season out of Pitt that he was going to be a potential 1st-round pick. So they actually did pretty good.
They did nice. And the linebacker Chad Surratt out of UNC. I think he's gonna be a decent player. So yeah, they're trying to fix the thing. Their problem is they gotta play Kirk because for the next 2 years they can't get rid of him.
Yeah,
and by the time this is all said and done, Kirk gonna make close to $200 million.
Kirk's the man.
For as RG3 said, Kirk been cashing checks for being 8-8 and 79.
Yeah, RG3 said that. He said that. It's on record?
It's on record.
No, he didn't.
Yes,
say
he
that.
did.
He really said that?
He was on the draft. He was on the draft podcast. I forget what format it was on, but
he said that.
He said,
that don't even sound like RG3 was.
He said, Kellen Mond is everything that number 8 is." Hey,
you said it sound like RG3, but RG3 auditioning for a show. Yeah.
And then the Lions, Penei Sewell, I think, is the best tackle that was out there, but I don't trust that organization at all. So we're gonna keep moving.
Yeah,
he's just gonna be like Joe Thomas on the Browns.
Oh man,
yeah, Hall of Famer, and wasted his whole career. I agree 1,000%. AFC West, the Chiefs
had a pretty decent.
Creed Humphrey of Oklahoma.
That's a starter. He's starting day one.
That's their starting center for sure.
He's a wrestler.
Yeah.
If anybody know anything about wrestlers, they so strong upper body, so he can control everything. He's been a 4-year starter, captain at Oklahoma, in a run-based offense. So that was they fixed that offensive line problem. They got rid of everybody.
Yeah. they actually had to, but that was a good pick.
So they are ready to go.
As was the Nick Bolton pick, the linebacker out of Missouri.
Yeah, he's nice. The Chargers.
Good draft.
Good draft.
At least the
Rashawn
first two.
Slater.
Watch Trevor's backside.
He was either the number 2 or some people thought he was the number 1 pure left tackle in the draft. Asante Samuel Jr.
Slot.
Hey, bloodlines.
Mm-hmm.
Bloodlines tell.
And he's a day one starting slot corner.
Day one.
Sure. Yeah, he's a day one starter.
And he can be on your team for 10 years and you ain't got to worry about that position again. So, yeah, they had a nice one. What's the Raiders doing, man?
I'm not gonna criticize the Raiders, and here's why. And I know their track record hasn't been too well. I will give you that. But Leatherwood is not the worst thing they could have done.
First round?
He's not the worst.
First
now,
round? Come on, man.
They probably could have got Leatherwood. They could have
second round. Or they could have traded up late first round.
Right. They could have traded
We watched
down.
him. We know what he is.
But he could play left tackle, he could play guard, and he could play right tackle. So he's a swing. I mean, he's versatile. And they said they're going to play him at right tackle. I agree. It might have been a little too high for him. I will give you that. But they made up.
On the flip side, though, Trevon Morgan in the second round was a good pick. So
right. Yeah, so really, if they would have flip-flopped and picked the safety first, and then at 17, and then Leatherwood at the Moreeg's slot in the second round, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Hey. The Denver Broncos, I think, had the best draft of the division. Of course, they got Patrick Surtain.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger than his daddy, more physical than his daddy, and a consummate pro. He just does his job. He been a starter at Alabama since he walked on that campus.
Mm-hmm.
And all he did was you take the best receiver and slow him down. And that's exactly what he did. Javonte Williams, in their run style, he could be a problem. And then
because I just want to see Gordon disappear.
Yeah. Well, Gordon shows up when he got a little competition, so he'll be there for a little bit.
And I tell you what, Denver's offensive line, since Munchak has got there, since he left Pittsburgh and arrived there, because everywhere he goes, their offensive line gets significantly better. He turned that bust left tackle into a all-pro left tackle. What's his name? What's the guy's name? I can't remember his name. But anyway.
You're not talking about Illinois, who just signed by the Ravens today.
No. Well, he turned him into an NFL player, which is saying something. Anyway,
keep it moving.
But anyway,
they're gonna be good.
They're gonna be good. Yeah.
And the rumor is they are the number 1 possible landing spot for Mr. Rodgers.
Yes, sir.
So you imagine dropping Aaron Rodgers in there with those young receivers that they drafted last couple of years, with that offensive line.
But how do they get them? What's the cost?
If you get Aaron Rodgers and you get ready to compete for championships right away, you give up the next 2 first-round picks and a second or third, and maybe even a defensive player. Give him Chubb, keep it moving.
Yeah.
Because he's going to make everything better on the offense, which means your defense isn't going to be on the field, which makes them dominant again. So now let's talk about your favorite division there.
I love it.
You got your number 1 choice.
We did.
He fell right to him.
And they didn't waste no time. They didn't break my heart. My heart's been broken so many times.
That pick went in quick too.
Yes. I love this. I love Pittsburgh's draft.
Yeah. Because the tight end's a monster too.
Yeah, he was the best tight end.
He is.
Because I don't like because I label the other kid
a wide
receiver. Yeah, that's it. I need my tight ends to block somebody.
I feel you.
So, but I love Pittsburgh's draft, and the thing I love about Pittsburgh's draft is usually you pick the best player available, or a lot of times Pittsburgh has been guilty of picking a player because they need that player in their offense or their defense or on their team. But Najee actually, to me, was the best player available at that point, even though he just happened to be a running back and I wanted him desperately. They picked the best player. The second round they followed up. They didn't reach, or they didn't go after like a second tier, or maybe your fourth or fifth or sixth best tackle, which they need desperately. Instead, they took the best player available, which was a position of need. Because if you watch Pittsburgh, we have no tight ends whatsoever. Right. We have the exact same thing that I don't like in Ebron, which is a pass catch only tight end, and he drops too many passes for my life, and he can't stay healthy. Right, he's on his third team. He was an eighth overall pick in the draft, something like that. And he Detroit, although that's where players go to die. Yeah, that in Cleveland back in the day, Cleveland.
And then they come back with a center.
Then he came back with an athletic center. Yeah. And if you know anything about Pittsburgh, they've always had an athletic center. They've had Penalty, they've had Demarni Dawson, even back to Big Mike. They've always had an athletic center. So I love that. I love the pick. And then they followed up with some other picks of which contributed to the depth. They added a player left tackle from A&M, contributed to the depth, and then they added his teammate, inside linebacker, which they needed. But the most important thing was the 7th round pick of a punter out of Georgia Tech, the brother.
Yeah.
And our punter sucks.
And he can boom.
Yes. So so I enjoyed that pick. But to be honest with you, I like Cleveland's draft.
Cleveland's draft was ridiculous.
I mean, I have to be ridiculous. I got to be objective.
Ridiculous. And they got smart guys. Not only do they got smart guys that can ball. Yes. Greg Newsome is a baller.
Yes.
JOK from Notre Dame.
That's my favorite pick of the draft. JOK in the second. That's my favorite.
Supposedly some medical stuff leaked out.
Okay.
Supposedly there's a possibility there's a heart issue. But he passed the NFL.
But that happened with the football teams. Sweat.
Montez Sweat. Yep.
That's the same. If you remember that draft, there was no way you guys should have been able to get him because I think he fell to the end of the first.
Right.
And he clearly was a top 10. I mean, you're talking about an edge rusher, a phenomenal edge rusher. You know, they don't drop.
Right.
They don't drop.
And then Anthony Schwartz is a legitimate
track star.
Yeah. 4'2". He 4'2", 40 speed.
But hey, fellas, let's keep it real. Baker is still the jury's still out on Baker. They did pick up his 5th year.
Yeah.
But
he earned it.
But Baker has everything that he has a phenomenal offensive line. They rebuilt that for him.
Yeah.
Yep.
He has probably the 2 best running back tandem in the NFL.
Definitely the best running back combination.
He was everywhere, tight ends. They got it all.
Everything they need to win, they have now.
I'm sorry to say, because we didn't believe you last year. I think Cleveland gonna win this division, but we're gonna get that.
Blasphemy. We're not going that far.
Okay. And then the Ravens finally helped out Lamar.
Yeah.
Rashad Bateman is going to be a beast in the NFL. That dude is legitimate number one. Legitimate number one. The linebacker they picked up is a good, solid speed linebacker, replacing one of the linebackers that they got.
That's a typical Raven. He's a Raven linebacker.
And then they got a guard.
He's a monster.
And then they signed the forward tackle, but he's playing right tackle instead of left tackle.
BJ, we need you on here, brother. Send a comment in about Villanova.
So that's going to be a tough division. Let's keep this moving. It's starting to get a little late. The Miami Dolphins that new regime has been doing their job for 3 years.
Mm-hmm. The Dolphins, I think, won the draft.
Jalen Waddle.
Interesting.
Jalen Waddle, they're going to try to make him their version of Kansas City Tyreek Hill. Yep. Then you get Jalen Phillips. If he can stay healthy, he was the best edge rusher in the draft. if he can stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Their safety is strong, and then they got a freaking tackle from
Notre Dame.
Our boy got to step up this year, or he might not be long in Miami.
But I will say this until I turn blue in the face, which is almost impossible.
It doesn't matter.
He is going to be perfect. He's watch. All I'm saying is watch.
We'll see.
Watch.
I'm not out on Tua, but I got some reservations about him now. I'm not gonna lie.
We will see now. We will definitely see now. New England, strong. He like his Alabama boys.
Yes.
He's drafted more Alabama players than anybody.
Which is saying something.
And Mac Jones had an attitude. For people who don't know Mac Jones, the way he was walking out to that podium, that wasn't a happy walk. That was a pissed off walk that he fell at 15, even though he went to New England.
But he's in the perfect spot.
Perfect spot.
That's true.
Perfect spot. So it's gonna be interesting.
And quiet as it's kept, because look, I'm a Cam supporter, and Cam, I want him to play, but I don't know if Cam has the ability to stay healthy these days. I don't know. But I think that's a perfect situation for Jones.
I feel you. Yeah. And the Jets, until they prove they something other than the Jets, I don't give them any credibility.
Wilson, joke.
And the Buffalo Bills are strong. They filled some needs, but they didn't do anything spectacular. They're trying to increase their pass rush. I think they needed a big-time running back to add to their offense.
I thought Najee Harris was somebody they were going to target too, but
the problem was, I think Pittsburgh picked one pick before them. I think.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that was the issue, right? No,
okay.
Then why didn't they take the running back out of Clemson?
Because I think they traded up. I think somehow, some way, they either picked the right after Pittsburgh or a pick or two after that, because don't forget, Jacksonville, I think, traded up to get ETN, because he went right after Najee. I believe that wasn't that a trade?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yep. Najee went 24. ETN went 25.
You're right. So that would have been a perfect fit to add to their offense, to take them to it. They were already elite. That would take them to the Kansas City type level, but we will see. And then the AFC South, that's Indy's division. Because
by default, almost by default,
the Titans are okay, but until they can prove to me that their passing game is legit.
Well, then don't they not proven?
Because they don't get a man the ball enough that they should. So if Carson Wentz can be anywhere, if he can be 70% of the quarterback he was 2 years ago, Indy should walk away with that division. And they got Kwity Paye, and his draft was the favorite moment of the draft when he told his mama, "You retired."
Right. Well,
and then the next day gave her a jersey with her name and had retired on it. So that was cool. So we will see. But your boy Caleb Farley went to the Titans. If his back's okay,
he's gonna be legit.
But that man had 2 surgeries on his back in college.
Yeah, that is definitely a red flag.
So
that's one thing that kind of let me shy away from him. Like, going into the draft process, I actually had him. I wanted the Cowboys to take him at 10 overall, but that was before he had the second back surgery, and then J.C. Horn started emerging. But I initially thought Farley was going to be the number 1 corner off the board. Honestly.
Yeah, if he wasn't hurt, he might have.
You weren't alone on that. You weren't alone. Yeah, a lot of people felt that.
And then Jacksonville. The best thing that Jacksonville did is they gave Trevor Lawrence his security blanket with ATN.
Mm-hmm.
They brought his boy in with him so they can go through this whole process together. So that's cool.
I'm telling you, Jacksonville, I don't know what their offensive line looks like, but if they have any offensive line, that nice 1-2 punch with James Robinson.
I was going to say, how do I feel about them taking ETN with already having James Robinson?
If you know anything about Urban, though, Urban loves speed, and he loves speed, and he loves accumulating talent. So I think that he felt that. I think that was part of Trevor doing, though. I think he wanted to try to see, make him feel a little more comfortable.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
makes sense. And the man's a beast. The man's the all-time leading rusher in the ACC.
Yeah,
he's definitely legit. Was he a Heisman finalist in 2019, or he was up there in the voting?
Yeah. So he's nice. So I just, until the coach goes to 2 seasons, I'm not going to believe it.
You mean Urban?
Because Urban hates getting his head kicked in.
Yeah,
I think he's going to get his head kicked in.
No, man. Something tells me.
For 2 years. Because he tapped out of Florida with Alabama. When Nick got that program going, he tapped out and said, okay, it's time to go.
Right.
And then Ohio State, he had to tap out because he was doing some crazy things. So that's our draft wrap up. We hope y'all enjoyed that. We're going to move on. A couple things that caught our attention. Got to put a shout out to the WNBA. They announced yesterday they are going to be broadcasting 100 regular season games between ABC 25, CBS Sports Network 40, and NBA TV. That's huge. Last season, because of the bubble, I think they broadcasted 20. Before that, they were lucky if they were in the teens. So now they've gone to 100. Plus, they're going to have up to 19 playoff games on ABC, ESPN.
And I think the more exposure that people get, as far as just having easy access to these games, I think they'll come to appreciate the women's game more.
I agree with you totally.
Definitely.
And the season starts May 14th, folks. So it's 10 days away. Speaking of the WNBA, Atlanta Dream lost their head coach, Nikki Collins. She leaves the Dream with only 10 days remaining before the start of the season, but she took the Baylor job.
I mean,
that's a almost $3 million a year job.
Yeah, so
she had to go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, Baylor women's basketball, that's top of the line right there. I mean,
absolutely. LeBron re-injured his ankle.
Why even come back?
The Lakers got some issues, so we will see. Got to give a shout out to my boy Lewis Hamilton, second victory of the season.
He's starting off where he left.
Portuguese Grand Prix, but he's in a tight battle. Red Bull's got a good car this year, and so it's going to be interesting. And for you boxing fans, even though it may be off, but supposedly Saturday on DAZN, Canelo Alvarez is supposed to fight Billy Joe Saunders to unify the super middleweight titles, but they beefing right now. Billy Joe Saunders says if they don't make the ring a little bigger, he not fighting. So we'll see if that.
No, he don't want to get caught in that corner with Canelo.
He don't want no parts of that, so we will see. All right, it's time for Professor and his takes. You ready, Professor?
And you know it.
Professor.
Let's do it.
What's going on? All right, everybody, let's get down with the post takes. Now, we heard it. We heard y'all loud and clear. Y'all wanted a little bit of NHL, so we about to give it to you because we know that ice is heating up now that the playoff time is coming through. So the Stanley Cup playoffs begin on May 11th, 2021. The players of some of the same dominant franchises and others are planning on shaking things up. So the East Division is kind of tight right now. You got the Caps and the Penguins really jockeying these last few games for that number one spot. So right now, the Caps are in the number one spot. And if everything stays the same, they'll be playing the Boston Bruins at the number 4 seed. And that'll put Pittsburgh down to place the number 3 seed, the New York Islanders. Then we got the Central Division. We got the Carolina Hurricanes, the number 1 seed, going against the number 4 seed, Nashville Predators. And you got number 2, Tampa Bay Lightning. They'll be going against the number 3, Florida Panthers. I hate those hockey flip-flop names. You got Carolina Hurricanes and you got Florida Panthers, right? It should be the other way around. That joke messes my mind up all the time, but that's hockey for you right there. Then you got the Central Division. You got the Carolina. Oh, I did that one. You got the North Division. You got the Toronto Maple Leafs. They continue to be a staple. They got the number 1 seed, and they'll be going up against the number 4 seed, Montreal Canadiens. Then you got the number 3 Edmonton Oilers versus the number 3 Winnipeg Jets. And then the team that everybody loves to hate, you got the number 1 Vegas Golden Knights in the Western Division. They're the number 1 seed. They'll be clocking in with the number 4 seed, the St. Louis Blues. And then you got the number 2 seed, Colorado Avalanche versus the number 3 seed, Minnesota Wild. So, of course, you know the Washington Capitals, they have 71 points. They're tied with the Pittsburgh Penguins, also with 71 points. They are doing a knockout drag 'em fight for this East Division. Washington is at the top right now, as stated before. We know these longtime rivals are going to go after each other because they got that hate for each other. We definitely going to see some fights. I'm mad. I need my man Tom Wilson back. He just got fined for a nice fight he had last night, and he was out there flexing. So we going to come for y'all on that one. So this year should be no different. They are always on a collision course for one another, with the winner to be a favorite for the cup in the last 8 years. In the mix over the last decade, you have the Dallas Stars, Tampa Bay Lightning, and Boston Bruins. But outside the Chicago Blackhawks and LA Kings in the last 10 years, these two nemesis have been in the mix. Then the Carolina Hurricanes, they're at 77 points. They're 2 points ahead of the Florida Panthers at 75 in the Central Division. You know, you mix it up and shake it around, these seedings could stay the same and be altered by the last week of the regular season, which is this coming week. The Maple Leafs are at 72 points, and really, they're running away with that division. They're 10 points ahead of the Edmonton Oilers, so look for them to stay pace and really make some noise in the playoffs. The Vegas Knights, 74 points. They're 4 points ahead of the Colorado Avalanche. So, of course, we know what those boys can do. The Vegas Knights are led by Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty. Those boys will be doing some damage. We know them very well in Washington because they battled the Caps, you know, in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, of course, John Carlson and Alex Ovechkin are both out due to lower body injuries. And see, this is the beauty. Y'all pay attention to this, y'all. This is the beauty of hockey. They never give you specific injuries. They'll tell you upper body or lower body.
That's like Belichick.
They're not telling you anything. And we understand it's about that gambling. It's about Vegas and everything. But hockey stays true to it. They like, look, we know we got a sport that takes a lot of collisions, but we only telling you two things. One of two things is upper body or lower body. So we definitely will see those brothers ready for the playoffs because I know Carlson and Ovechkin will not be sitting out the playoffs. So finally, according to ESPN, the top 10 power rankings to end the regular season will get you all pumped and ready unless your team did not make this list. Just remember that a dark horse is a good thing. Remember, hockey is known for that dark horse making a deep playoff run. That's why I love hockey so much, because you never know. So at number 1 in the power rankings, they got the Vegas Golden Knights. Number 2, they got the Colorado Avalanche. 3 is the Carolina Hurricanes. 4, Tampa Bay Lightning. 5, Toronto Maple Leafs. 5, here you go. 6, here you go, Ed. Pittsburgh Penguins. 7, Minnesota Wild. 8th is the Florida Panthers. And I couldn't believe this. 9th came in with the Washington Capitals. And then finishing out the top 10 are the New York Islanders. So y'all get ready for some puck. It's going to be dominant. It's going to be real. We're going to have an update for you each and every week until the Stanley Cup has been hoisted. Hopefully it's by this hometown team rocking the red. Go Caps. All right, back to you, Big Reg.
Oh, real quick, can I say something, you mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
Last time the Caps won it, I was working at a sports bar type of deal. That was one of the worst experiences I ever had in my life.
Yeah, the Caps got some crazy fans, man.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this North Division, because that's the Canadian division.
Right.
Yeah.
Canada,
the travel issue.
I think they're going to play off through themselves, and I think the winner of that division's going to have to come to the U.S. and not going to be able to go back.
Right.
Because Canada ain't playing.
Yeah, and because they haven't changed their restrictions, their travel restrictions. So
right.
That could be the interesting. You may have a playoff team that ends up playing on the road late in the playoffs. Totally. So it'll be interesting to see. But all it takes is a hot goalie. Yeah. You get a hot goalie, you win a cup. Fantastic. So, yeah, we look forward to talking a lot of puck for the next few weeks. We also going to get heavy into the NBA playoffs because we know most teams only got about 8 to 10 games left. So it's time. It's playoff time, folks. All right, it's time for us to get out of here. So it's time for our final post of the evening. Why don't you start us off, Professor Jay?
Well, I appreciate you fellas. I know I'm late coming to the party, but I, of course, listened to the whole show. You guys came with the fire tonight. Darian, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thanks for
You are
having me.
welcome back anytime, my brother.
I
And drag
appreciate
your
it.
pops on here too, because you know I can't wait to have him on the show so I can mess with him a little bit.
Cool.
But certainly just remember, guys, that we're still in the midst of a pandemic. Keep us in prayers as we keep you in prayers. And if you look, we got two of the team together for our show. So more of us are going to be coming together, getting together. We vaccinated. We ready to go. We ready to shock the world. So let's get it done.
Bring that in-home studio fire as we get more.
Right.
That's right. Absolutely. Darian, final post, partner.
So real quick, I just want to put everybody on to UFC 262 next Saturday. Got my boy Iron Mike Chandler fighting again. You know, got his first win, UFC 257 with a knockout. But you know, just keep a lookout on that. And this is not financial advice, but put some money on Michael Chandler.
we appreciate that disclaimer. We definitely appreciate that disclaimer. I'm definitely gonna be talking about that a little bit next week for sure. For sure. All right, Big Ed.
First of all, it felt really good to be back, man. It really did. It feels like it's been like years. So yeah. I appreciate this. I'm glad we're all vaccinated. We're not being reckless over here, folks. Just know that. Darian, the first time I met you, we was on Delay a Game, and I was like, who is this young cat? I appreciate you being on here. You're extremely knowledgeable and intelligent. Thank you for sharing your time with us tonight.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Everyone else, just please remain safe. Professor J, thanks for all that background information that you do. You didn't just join us; you was with us all night. Thanks for listening, everybody watching.
I'd like to put my final post out to just update you folks on a previous show. A few weeks back, we did a show and we talked about youth soccer, and the Future Soccer Club of PG County came on, and one of the dads sent me an update. Pepsi Cola, through their commitment to donate to help communities, minority communities, communities of color. They're one of what they call the first 11 to participate in a $1 million grant to help teams of color in the soccer community. So shout out to Future Soccer Club. They are getting some money that's going to help them get more equipment.
There you go.
Be able to rent better fields, practice facilities, and all that. So that's a great show.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, they lost in a shootout in the State Cup, but they're going to be continuing their progress. They've got some more independent cups coming, so we're going to keep you informed about what's going on with the Future Soccer Club. And the biggest thing, I was told that at least 3 to 6 of their players have received some form of partial or full scholarship to college.
Congratulations, young man.
Yes.
That's a grassroots organization based out of PG County trying to help their own do their thing. So congratulations to the Future Soccer Club. We appreciate all that you do, and we look forward to having you guys back on in the future so you can tell us about what's going on. So I'm happy when we can talk about good stuff at the end of the show because there's much bad stuff going on. All right. As usual, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in and listening. We appreciate your time. And, of course, we appreciate our opportunity to share our positions on sports with you in each and every week. Tuesday, 7 p.m., you can book it. It may be 2, it may be 3. Pop-up could be 4 or could be 7 of us. But we're going to be here each and every Tuesday, 7 p.m. for the live show. If you can't catch the live show, you can catch us on our Facebook page. Search Positional Sports Talk Show. Also our YouTube channel, same title, Positional Sports Talk Show. Hit us up on Instagram, Positions on SPO1. Let us know what you think about the show. And Herman, You gotta let me know when you're coming, bro. We missed you today. We gotta hear about the draft. Gotta hear about Cleveland. So we looking forward to you. All right, everybody. We will see y'all next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. We appreciate the time. Have a good evening.
Peace out. Thank you.
Praise the Lord.